Okay, hi guys. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's podcast. We're joined by a very special guest, Lucy, who's joined. She's on mute. We'll start again. Come in.
Did I press it?
Okay, start again. Hi guys. Welcome to today's podcast. We're joined by a very special guest, Lucy Parker. She's what I like to call the queen of real estate in Dubai. She's helped me in my own portfolio amazingly, and I know a lot of other people as well. So I think it's really useful to bring her on, as in this podcast, we really help aspiring coaches and businesses online to grow and scale, not only their businesses, but wealth management. And obviously what Lucy does is a huge part of that as we move forward. So Lucy, how are you doing? You okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, James, for your intro. What you don't realise is that I just pressed the mute button. So I'm not your most tech wizard out here. But
just a quick one as well, you don't need to be this close as well.
Oh, right,
that
okay.
I think we're going to hear you from that. It's perfect.
Fabulous. So, but what I want to share is you don't have to be a tech geek to actually make it in life.
Well, let's start off there for us. Like, who is Lucy? Where's she from? What does she do? Because obviously you've got a big story before property as well.
Yes.
Fill us in on that.
Sure. Yeah. So basically I was brought up overseas, James, and so I have travel in my blood. Yeah. And so when I was at school, I was not your top student. I was your average student. Same.
Yeah, same as yeah.
And, I always sort of thought, well, I work so hard. I put so much effort into everything. So what I did was I was like, okay, I want to go to uni because I'll be the first in my family, but what am I going to do at uni? So I thought I will do what I actually can use in my future. I knew I was going to travel. I love people. I love connecting. So I was like, okay, let me do French and Spanish. So I did French and Spanish and economics. We didn't have all these amazing degrees that you have now because I'm a little bit older than James.
A little bit.
Just a little bit, James. He's so complimentary. So did that languages at uni. And then with that French and Spanish, I went to live in Costa Rica for a year. I've lived in Honduras for a year. I was a school teacher there, James. In Costa Rica, I was like managing gap year students from the UK. So just really getting out and having really amazing life experiences. Did the trilingual PA in London with the Louis Vuitton group. And that was so boring after a year I was out. Didn't like the office scenario. But what I want to explain is, I come from a really nice background. I was never short of anything. But my father worked in the bank for 40 years in one job. My mother was a stay-at-home mum. We had one house, which was a beautiful home, on a mortgage, and then mortgage paid off. And that was it. But there was no entrepreneurs around me. Yeah. And they didn't buy and sell and flip real estate. So we didn't have any of that knowledge around me growing up. And so what happened was I decided that I didn't want to work in an office in London anymore. I wanted to travel the world. So I became a tour guide. So I took people on adventure holidays all over the world. Literally, I'm at country 78 now. I'm on a goal to visit every country on the planet before I die. So that's 4 new countries this year. And then, basically tour guiding is amazing. Don't get me wrong. So I had experiences, I'd be snowboarding in Canada 2 weeks, and I'd be on a beach in Kenya for 2 weeks, and I was doing a tennis week in Spain, and then I was on a cruise in Rio, and then, going around the vineyards of Argentina, trekking China. So, I saw so much of the world. And when I meet people, they often say, Lucy, you already led the life that I want to lead when I retire. So, but, other things were compromised. So I figured that I wasn't earning very good money. I was missing all my friends' weddings and anniversaries and, having babies, etc. And I wasn't really creating my own personal social life. Yeah. So I was like, what am I going to do now? So basically, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes, great.
Right? You've read it?
Yeah. Well, we understand the message of it as well. More than anything. Yeah.
In fact, everyone that I meet who is entrepreneurial, James, has read that book. It's like a fundamental book that I actually made my nephews read, like when they were 11 and 12. So Robert Kiyosaki's book is so simple. The title attracted me. I'll be honest. I wanted to read about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And understand, well, where was I at? And read the book, realized I need real estate. Okay. But I didn't know what to do about real estate, and I didn't want anyone to cheat me. I didn't want to buy real estate and then somebody do it behind my back, because I'm a very honest person. So I was like, okay, the best way to buy real estate is I'll learn it first, so nobody can pull the ball over my eyes. Yeah. And so that's where we're at. So 20 years ago, I found a job, and we're talking before social media, before mobile phones, before WhatsApp. I found a job on the newly excited internet. Found a job in the south of France. That's where I always wanted to live. I went to work for this couple showing people around homes. And what happened was I was on a salary. I did not receive any commission, but everybody that I was showing homes were buying the homes. And my bosses were making a lot of money. And I was like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here. And at that point, I had one more tour to lead because then I was hanging up my tour guiding days. And they told me I could lead anywhere in the world, this tour company, as my last trip. So I thought to myself, well, where do I not know, which is really adventurous, exciting, and I love taking risks. And they showed me there was a tour in Oman in the Gulf. And I was like, Oman, no one's ever heard of Oman. I'm going to lead a tour there because that's exciting. Yeah. So found myself in Oman for a 2-week tour, fell in love with the country and Oman, and literally left France. And that's how I found myself in the Gulf 20 years ago. And then once I got to Oman, I happened to be in the right time, the right place with the right people. I just didn't realize. So Oman was opening up to foreigners being able to buy real estate, very similar to here next door in Dubai. My bosses were a British couple. He was ex-Marine. She was ex-entrepreneurial PR marketing. So I learned discipline from that man, like Marines discipline. Yeah. You know, it's like get in the office, make those calls. Data is king. Like he was all about data.
Make decisions through data, not emotion.
You're the data king as well, aren't you, here, James?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's the same, right? So I learned, you know, hold that email, hold that telephone number of anyone you ever meet. And that has done me so well. And by the way, for those of you watching, I don't mean spam data. I don't mean illegally bought data. I mean genuine. You know, when someone gives you a phone call or sends you an email, make sure you hold that information somewhere.
I think that's what you've done. Sorry to interrupt you. I think what you've done so well with you and the momentum you've created in Dubai is the community and trust you've built with your consumers. And I think the trust comes from, first and foremost, you know what you're talking about, because that's ultimately...
I like to think so.
You do. No. But then also like how active you are in the follow-up engagement with those clients that you have and the communities that obviously I'm in with you because of real estate we've bought here as well. And how you become a figurehead to these individuals, a trusted advisor. And that has that rippling effect to more sales, more commissions that you can make because... You're becoming that trusted advisor. You're leading with value all the time. And that community you're always building.
Absolutely. But do you know what that is down to? That is down to my YouTube channel. Yes. So, you know, video is everything. Hence why we're sat here now. Because by video, you can really work out someone's authenticity because someone can only lie to the camera for 20 seconds. And then after that, it all unravels.
Absolutely.
So I'm still here. We're still who we are, right? So my videos just captured, you know, the essence of Dubai, the essence of the communities. And, you know, fast forwarding to COVID, James, you know, in COVID, we couldn't get out to see property, right? So how are we going to buy, you know, our villas or our property or invest? And that's where suddenly my YouTube channel came into its own. Before then, it was a serious fail story. For 2 years, I had about 100 subscribers and no viewers. And then, you know, here's COVID. Everybody's starting to go on my YouTube channel. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more content. Yes. And then it starts triggering me clients. And then I've never looked back, literally.
Yes. So obviously, Oman to Dubai.
With a bit of a jump through France.
Right. Okay. Yes. And then you settle in here and then start actually looking at taking over the market here and also building trust and everything here. And so obviously your first bit of your intro with RichDadPoorDad, all that stuff, there's so much to unpack with that and helping people understand that more than anything, because I think obviously the individuals that really go into real estate and start investing, as we know, I looked at a buy to let, put a mortgage down, wait till they pay off their mortgage to do their next property. And what RichDadPoorDad is saying of leveraging debts and leveraging financing to get equity out of these properties to get more properties and leveraging other people's money to do so. Yeah. You've got to understand and have that entrepreneurial mind to go and do that, haven't you?
And you do. And we were never taught it at school, right? So unless you were, you know, you had a mentor or a parent or someone, how are we going to learn this, James? And you know what, my main lesson I took from RichDadPoorDad, and there were many, was that you need a passive income. So a passive income we define as an income that will grow in your sleep. Yes. You don't have to do anything, residual, right? So the fact is, real estate is one of the best ways to do it. And also, it was another aha moment for me about reading the book was assets versus liabilities, right? So, what is actually going to grow in wealth as opposed to deplete and depreciate in wealth. And that was very, very interesting for me to read that and understand, because I didn't really understand so well when I was a child about that. No one taught me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So wind on a few years, obviously JG Group moved a lot of our companies over to Dubai. We actually have a few clients that then recommended Lucy to me. I think it was Rob.
Yes.
And then obviously for me, obviously with the business and what we do, obviously we are keen investors in property back in the UK. And then obviously coming over here, we wanted to get involved. Obviously we hear great things about you. I did. And the more and more I heard about you, the more I was like, okay, she's switched on. She knows what she's talking about. Trust gets built. And then I think for me, like Lucy's saying, is that success leaves clues. And more so, you rub shoulders with the people that know what they're talking about, you're also going to grow and pull yourself up the ladder. So for me, the biggest thing was like, I've got this woman here that knows a lot about property. I know a lot of property agents are going to come in, try and make their commissions, everything else. I was more interested, where are you investing?
Yeah.
And then I quickly realized one of the first properties we did with you was actually where you're investing yourself.
We
bought the same one. Yeah. And what we bought that at I bought in at 2.3, and now it's worth 3.1 to 3.4.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
So it's good to follow you.
But and I'm looking at my second property investment, and you've got to know the communities, and you've also got to know the type of property. And it's really interesting, James, but when people are just looking online at property, how would you know? It's like a needle in a haystack. How would you know what's good?
I think it's also important for people to listening in. Obviously, we're talking about the real estate market in Dubai, not the UK. Different game. Yeah, I was basically saying with obviously real estate in Dubai, we can't see it before we buy it. Usually, we obviously can buy residential properties which are on the market and everything else, but the majority of us as investors, we go after off-plan properties because there's a greater yield. There's a greater capital appreciation, what you were saying in the start, right? Yeah. That's why we do it. But you've got to have that diligence, calculated decision making, spending time with people like yourself who can really understand the market. If you don't, and it is a calculated risk to some degree. It is. Our one in Talal Al Gaf hugely paid off. Yeah, that was one of our best investments that we'll ever do. Yeah.
And don't you wish you bought two now?
I kind of, yeah. But obviously we we obviously did another place. We did also Dubai Hills together. Yes, so second property we bought was Goldfield in Dubai, and we've just had a video come through and they're showing how it looks right now. It looks solid, it looks pretty good. Yeah, and I think that's edged up a little bit as well, which is cool. Yeah. But there's huge potential to this market, and I obviously will dive into it. But for me, I am more, like you say, caring about the passive residual side of things of it, and putting tenants into it. Yeah. Obviously, we know the market's probably going to be burst and everything else in the future and everything else. It will come and go up and down, but as long as you can put tenants in there, you've got that residual passive income coming off. Yeah, you're going to create that's early retirement. That's financial freedom. That's where ultimately your passive streams outweigh your lifestyle expenditure, and that is where you've created freedom. Yeah, and you know what they always say: you need to buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate. And no matter what happens, bricks and mortar will grow in your wealth. So it may not be overnight, but 10 years plus it will. It's like you say, it's an appreciating asset. Obviously, in Dubai, a lot of people get sucked up into buying the depreciating side of things, the glam and the cars and everything else, and these things that ultimately don't appreciate. For me, it's all about real estate now. Any profits and systems we do with our companies, it's like, what can we do next? Absolutely. And that's how it should be. So definitely follow James because he's doing it right. So appreciate that. So tell us more about obviously your aspirations and everything else, because you've grown quite a big name out here now. You've built some big property sales, some big commissions you've done from property as well by being that trusted advisor with these clients who want to come to you and say, Luce, I need a property. This is what I want to look for. And you go out there and you find it and you make it happen. Yeah. With what you do and what you're wanting to go, what does that look like for you now? If we just, thank you, James. Look, I've been here in Dubai for 13 years and it's been a tough journey. Don't get me wrong. I've been here broke. So for your viewers and listeners, it's not an easy road. And something that I was actually on another podcast this week we were talking about is, I guess you could look at it. I'm a 19-year overnight success. That's why I always say to people. I say that as well. I love that. It's not happening. It's like, Lucy, you make real estate look so easy. I've been doing it for 19 years. So it's paying itself back for those years. When James, I was living on the Palm. I went broke and I had to pack up everything in bags and move to a studio in Arjan, which was no bigger than somebody's kitchen.
and live for 2 years with nothing. And so it's tough, and you go through that and then you say to yourself, I will never go to that point again. And that propels me forward.
I love this. It's such a great message because there's so many people say that to us in our segments. Like, how have you created this? You got so lucky. I'm like, no, we're like a 10-year overnight success, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. And I know living out here, real estate agents that come from the UK, that come around the globe, that come here and they get spat out straight away. They don't have the discipline or the momentum to ultimately climb the ladder and get there. And people don't realize how hard it is as a sales agent or property agent to come in here and make it work. So obviously, we're talking about how successful you've been and everything else. You had to bust your balls to do that and get them.
Yeah, and also there's no salary,
and it's
right?
it's got on commission on it, and it's a momentum game though to get to where you've got to. Like a lot of people come here to do their first commission, to do their first sale, and then they're at a brunch the next weekend, spunking it all and everything else, and not doubling down and thinking, okay, how are we building again?
Absolutely. And James, look, I'll give you a couple of scenarios which you may not be aware of. So when I arrived in Dubai, firstly, nobody would give me a job in real estate. No one. Now, I had worked my way up to sales manager and owner in Oman of the Better Homes franchise, 3 of us. But when I got to Dubai, nobody was going to give me any opening. Imagine, right? So I'm not one to take a no. And also, like if somebody tells me I can't do it, I'm going to do it, right? I'll find a way. So my finding a way is always a who, not a what. So it's all about the people. So I found somebody that I knew from my days working in real estate in Oman. They had a developers, you may know Shoba Developers. The chairman of Shoba is one of Forbes' 500 billionaires, and he's a very good friend of one of my closest clients in Oman. So I went to meet him for an interview, and he said, please come into my sales team and, see if you can help grow and westernize the sales team. So that's what I did. So my role, essentially, I was on a salary for the first 9 months, was to present the project to all the agencies in Dubai. So essentially what that did, and I didn't quite realize, is it was putting me out there. All the agencies were getting to know the person that they didn't want to give a job to, but now they can see me at work. And then I had all these offers from all the agencies within months saying, can you come and work for us? We're really, really sorry. Yes, we'd like you to work with us. And so then I could choose. And that's the best thing of all, is you need to be in a situation where you can choose who you're going to work with and where you're going to work. And nobody should tell you, you come in here and do this and do that. And a lot of these new agents from the UK, James, sadly, and it really hurts me, come in, they're told to do rentals only, they're told to do this area, which they don't yet know is a really, underdeveloped area. They're not going to make any money. And that's not right. So I sometimes look at myself.
You've got to do, like you're saying, your due diligence before. And what everything you're teaching, everything you're saying here is what I echo to people, is that you are what I like to call a disruptive entrepreneur. You've got to be disruptive. You have to be.
You saw my Instagram, right? Born to disrupt.
Yeah, right. So that's so important. And more so that we, in understanding the game of life, is a game of snakes and ladders. You're at the bottom of the board. When it comes to the top of the board, there's ladders along the way. These are people you invest in to take their tools, assets, and systems to climb the board. Ladder. Exactly, right?
You are too.
Yes. But then sometimes you land on a snake and ultimately fall down the board. But then you've got to have the mental fortitude, like you did when you were broke, when you were rock bottom. Pick yourself up and go and find the next ladder and climb, because it's not linear. It's never linear, and you've got to have that grit and that dog in you to find the way moving forward.
I mean, it's all about your mindset and your tenacity. But James, I'll tell you what I believe for entrepreneurs out there watching and listening is there has never been an easier time in history to be successful. I'm sorry, you've got social media. It is free to join social media. Your exposure can be millions of eyes at once. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for ads if you don't want to on day one. And the fact is that it is an even playing field. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you can succeed if you keep going.
And that's where I think you have become successful, is because you're polarizing. You've got a voice, you've got a message, and that's the difference between you and your competition. Is you won't mind me saying this, you're out there, you're in someone's face, you're like, look, this is my passion. And this is what people want to see. People want to see that. They want to see that you're passionate, because it all falls down to whether someone likes you, knows you, and trusts you.
Absolutely.
And if they do that, they're going to invest with you. And that's why I invest with you. And that's why all these properties we have in Dubai is because I think if I want to buy another property, which we're doing soon again, another bigger one. We're always saying we. I'm not contemplating anyone else, because you're my person. I trust you. And that's all about building trust. And that, once again, is through video, being polarizing and everything else.
But and I really appreciate that trust, James. And it is about relationships with your clients. Real estate is a relationship building industry. It is not about selling houses. It's not transactional, it's relational.
Yes.
And people get that wrong. And also, a lot of people sadly come to Dubai to make their millions and leave after 2 years. So they don't have the interest of their clients because they just want to close a deal, commission.
Yeah.
I'm here wanting to look my clients in the eye after 20 years plus.
Yeah.
And we will see your wealth grow.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
in the long run.
Which it already has. But that goes back to my point again, is if you've got a bit about you, you want to know where the real estate agents are investing themselves.
Yes.
And for me, that's why when I saw you were investing, I was like, I'm jumping on that straight away. And I didn't even see anything. You were like, James, trust me, put the money down. I was like, okay.
And there was a bit of, I'm not a convincer. I don't need to convince because generally I believe, I either am going to share with you something that's amazing or not. But, I did have to sort of say to you, and you were like, gosh, because you weren't used to it.
I remember this was my first off plan. Obviously, we have 3 right now. It was the first one we did. It was like, okay, you have to put $1 million down right now.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I was like, dirham.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool, sure. Yeah. And we did it, and I'm look back, it was the best one we've done so far, 100%.
Absolutely.
What I want to get you to talk about here, because we've got essentially online coaches, we've got entrepreneurs who are listening right now, we've got individuals who are growing their passive streams separately of their wealth.
Yeah.
They're getting to a situation where like, okay, how do I create this true passive residual stream, which we're talking about is property. How can these individuals get started, get on the ladder, get working and walking towards that, both in UK and Dubai markets? Where can people start?
Well, really, again, what I already said a couple of minutes ago, it's the who, not the what. So you've got to look at who are the people that are successful, that are giving you advice and you trust, and you can see that their own wealth is growing and their success, and listen to them, okay? And then, I always go to the people around me and ask who are their advisors, okay? Because if they trust them, then I don't even need to go and hunt out advisors in, banking or insurance or in wealth or in real estate, because it's your network. So we do say it's very important. Your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
And so, James, back to your question, if people are wanting to now convert their wealth, and congratulations to you all, watching that have done so well in your passive income at this stage, let's jump on a call. Let's have a chat and see whether Dubai works for you. Pretty much, I'm going to tell you yes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Look, I've traveled the world, James, and I could have lived in any city in the world, right? I've been here the longest in my life. That says it all, because it's such a lovely place to be. And so I want to put my money into a a city that is growing, that's attracting visionaries, that's attracting entrepreneurs. So you want to look where something grows and put your money in it.
I think just to echo what you're saying there as well, like when I first came to Dubai, I hardly knew anything about it until you're forced to learn and forced to adapt. And then I know a lot of people listening in who maybe aren't located in Dubai think, oh, it's a little bit dodgy and all this. But when you're here and realize really what's happening, the new airport that's being built, the Dubai South, and you don't understand how much more growth there is to come. It's exactly.
It literally hasn't started.
And I know now there's so much opportunity. And I think, for me personally, like you, I've traveled all with business, with work, all the time we fly.
Yeah. So the world changed, right? And with it, so did we. So there we were, stuck in, Europe or colder climates with wet and rain, and we're on our laptops. We're still making money. Yeah. We're paying tax. People realize, wait a minute, I don't need to be sat on my laptop in a country where it rains paying tax when I can do the same thing in Dubai.
Yeah.
And then everybody started moving here. And, we have 70% of people buying real estate, James, are actually settlers, as in coming to settle, not for speculation. That is unheard of anywhere in the world in a market for real estate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So obviously we know about Dubai markets and everything else, and ultimately how profitable it is and everything else, how lucrative it is. Maybe individuals that are maybe settled in the UK, they're a little bit anchored down with families until they're not going to relocate, they're not maybe going to invest in international markets. Where can they start in the UK? How can they get involved in the opportunities in real estate in the UK?
So, if it's tough and you haven't got that much available income, maybe club together, partner up. Get a couple of you together, go in on maybe a multi-family where there's a couple of units together. And just so you know, I have never done real estate in the UK, and I've never owned real estate in the UK. So actually, James knows more about real estate in the UK than I do. But what I would do is club together, or even go, if you're a first-time buyer, go on like a buy-to-let program with the government, right? Where you pretty much, is it like 95% you get?
Yes. So what we did, just for people listening, and I think it's a good model to follow, is what we did was I bought my own first property, residential. It was in Wolverhampton, the West Midlands.
Yeah.
Lived in it, and then eventually I then rented it out and I put a buy-to-let mortgage on it.
Okay.
And then that's one, and that's an easy way to do it. So deposit down, and then ultimately a mortgage. Then obviously with the companies that we create in the UK, what we did is before we relocated to Dubai as well, we created a holding company inside the company.
Yeah.
And then ultimately we called it JG Property Holdings Limited.
Right. Okay. So then the umbrella.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
And now we could invest and buy property, real estate in the UK, tax-free.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately, ideally, where you want to get to is trying to buy real estate commercially through your company, tax-free. Because obviously any money in the UK that you pull out from your business account into your personal account, you're going to get heavily taxed on it.
What I would say, James, just, from those people watching, is that myself and James, we're not tax advisors. So you should definitely speak with a tax advisor about what you can do, because maybe your business is set up different, but I love what James has done. Yeah. And obviously it's working so well for him. But we're all in different scenarios, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people are operating as sole traders, some people are limited companies. What I've just said about creating holding companies is different rabbits and everything else, and obviously always get advice. Absolutely. But the more you can obviously leverage the systems, especially in the UK where you're already on the back foot with the restrictions of what we're saying about tax, capital gains, income tax, corporation tax, VAT, it just goes on and on and on. And that's obviously one of the main reasons we actually moved to Dubai, because every month we were getting close to getting taxed at 6 figures a month. It was crazy. So that's why obviously as an online remote company, we could operate anywhere in the world. And that's why we moved our assets to Dubai, and we're driving revenue here. Now, granted, obviously, there's a corporation tax coming in close to 9%.
Still the lowest in the world. So,
but VAT at 5% to locals. I'd much prefer to say that any day over what the UK is.
James, you mentioned something which I just wanted to hone in on when you mentioned the word online remote workers. So how many of your viewers, I wonder, who are watching this and listening are online remote workers?
I would say 99%.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you, and I'm looking at the camera, to everybody watching. I'm going to challenge you, is why are you still in a tax-paying country if you're working online? Get out. A very close family member of mine, just to give you an idea and think out of the box, because we're not a tree. We don't have to stay where we were born, right? A lot of us just do that because that's what's normal. But a family member of mine wants to be a nanny, right? But be a nanny to ultra high net worths. And so she's about, right? But listen to this, right? So she's in her early 50s. So her mindset is, I'm in England, I'm British, blah, blah, blah. She's going to be an ultra high net worth nanny that travels 9 to 10 months a year. So I said, why on earth would you be based in the UK when you can base yourself, set up a company in Dubai and pay tax? And she's like, I never thought about that. So how many people are watching that just are paying and, depleting what you can then use back into your passive income and your future legacy without realizing what you could be doing?
I think there's lots to unpack there, and you're spot on. I love that. It's the mindset you've got to have. I think obviously a lot of 95% of people ultimately get comfortable in that comfort zone, and they don't think it's possible more than anything, or maybe they don't comprehend or understand. There's a lack of understanding around it that leads to inaction and just staying put, for instance, in the UK or anywhere you're located.
You know what? You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, once upon a time, I didn't know, because I was contemplating either Dubai or Monaco and what we were looking at, and eventually we chose Dubai. I'd also say, obviously, there are some people that weirdly actually do like living in the UK and do have family there as well. We want to stay there.
UK, look, I'm a proud
same.
And I love coming home to England, but I also like coming home to Dubai. So the thing is, you might have a reason why you want to be in the UK, the family, etc., etc. And, good on you. And I love that. I see my family a lot. But I think, James, the reason that, we're talking today is really to allow you to think bigger and believe in the beauty of your dreams.
And maximize your potential more so. Because ultimately, like I was saying, that there was a point in time where I thought I was literally working for the government. Is that how much I was forking out in tax? And we want to ultimately help people. And also, this is why I do think it helps the economy. The more entrepreneurs can relinquish into them, they're going to spend more and put back more into the economy, more into the market, and actually spend more as well.
People jobs.
Exactly.
Job creation.
Like with us, we have loads of staff now, close to over 50 plus members of staff because of ultimately what we've had to been able to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I love doing this podcast, by the way. I think you and I could talk forever and ever and ever on this, like as we do. This is what I'd like to always do on a podcast like this, is like people listening in right now, with your experience and everything you've done, what are the top 3 tips or revelations or advice do you have for growth-minded entrepreneurs who are looking to further and better themselves moving forward?
Yeah.
What top 3 tips or advice do you have for people?
Okay, so my number 1 tip is you've got to have discipline and habits. So every week on a Sunday, I have goals that I write out for everything I'm going to do in the week. So that is not just goals in my business, but in my fitness, in my personal development. You know, what am I learning? What am I reading? Who am I surrounding myself with? Am I doing meditation? So it's really, really important to look ahead. Otherwise, you get too ingrained in your everyday. That's one. Second tip, I would definitely be moving every day. I mean, obviously, James is in the fitness industry. So you want to move your body. If you don't move your body, then you're not going to move your mind. So absolutely get up and move. Take the stairs. And I think the third is the people you surround yourself with. It's everything. Okay?
Environment, yeah.
So your environment, you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. So think about that. And I know we can't choose our family, but apart from that, you can very much choose those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I think what we'll likely do is, I think it's going to be a very popular podcast. We'll probably get Lucy on again and we'll do a little bit more in-depth stuff, because I think what we've talked about a few things like off-plan, and people are probably thinking, well, how does it work? Is there a payment plan? What is it? What do you have to put down? And obviously it ranges so much. Why don't you just dangle a little bit right now for like an off-plan properties that we've done, like the 3 we've done. Typically talk through some of what actually that whole process looks like, and actually acquiring the property and everything else, like putting a deposit down, the payment plan you have, DLD, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's imagine you were buying a property for 2 million dirham. Okay. So, and I say to you, it's an off plan, it's on a 50-50 payment plan. You'd be like, what is that? Okay. So off plan means off the floor plan, meaning you are buying without seeing anything because it's not ready yet. It's a construction site. So let's imagine it's 2 million dirham. It's a 50-50. That means you're paying 50% over construction, which is usually 3 years. And then at handover, you will get the keys, and you will either have to pay the other 50% then, or if I say it's a post handover payment plan, you may have 2 or 3, even I've got one program with 5 years post handover. Okay. Obviously not in townhouse and villas.
And 0% interest on these payment plans.
0% interest because the developer is working as your bank. Okay.
Which is correct.
So here is the advisor. I'm your agent. There is no fee to pay us. We are simply matching you to the right project and the right type of property, because you wouldn't know that. And if you go direct to the developers, then they have to sell you what they're selling because they're salaried. And they're not going to say, oh, don't buy with us, go next door to our competition. It's like walking into Porsche and then them saying, no, don't buy a Porsche, go next door to BMW. They're not going to do that. But as a neutral real estate advisor, we're here as real estate agents to advise you what's best.
I think your first off-plan property, you're like, ooh, I'm not too sure about, and I did definitely feel that way, but now it's the only way I'd go, because look, mortgage and interest rates like 5, 6, 7%. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, like if you, and this all goes back to you doing your due diligence and your research. And what I mean by that in this situation is go and look at who the right developer is as well. You've got to find the right developers, like EMAR as an example here. It builds cities.
Absolutely.
And because obviously there have been some horror stories as well with bad developers who, do you know what I mean? So you have
I don't sell everything, James.
Exactly right.
You know.
No, Lucy is like that. Like sometimes I'll go to Lucy and say, what about that project? What about this property? She goes, no, I wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't do it. And that's what you want, is a real estate agent that will also turn around and say, I could get commission off you in this situation, but I'm not, because it's shit.
We've done that. Well, actually, there was a scenario. So, you know, James came to me with an opportunity, and I said, personally, I won't put my name to that. And that was basically essentially him bringing me business. And I said no to that. So, because I want to look you in the eye in 5 years and you've made money.
It comes back to that trust thing and everything else. I think there's so much to talk about, this off-plan stuff and everything else. And I think we'll do another podcast. Okay, sure. I think we will, because this is amazing, because hopefully you guys have found this valuable. This is a wicked podcast. Honestly, the more you can learn about what we're talking about, I promise you, it's going to grow your life, your wealth, generational wealth. It's so important to understand that. And that, like Lucy says, rub shoulders with people who are where you want to be. Extract tools and systems from them. Climb the ladder.
That's how I learned.
Simple.
The people who are already where I want to be. I love that, James.
Exactly. Absolutely. Lucy, where can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Lucy Parker. I'm also on Instagram, so LucyJParker_. And I have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
So if you just put in Lucy J. Parker, Real Estate Dubai, YouTube, you will find me. And you will see me driving, walking about all over the city, showing communities.